What's going on to all my Sonic fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we're discussing Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I got the opportunity to check out in theaters, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you all and let you know if I think it's worth checking out in theaters on April 8th, all in this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, make sure you all are checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And as you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this review, well, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also share the review. But more importantly, in the comments, let's talk all things Sonic, from you being a fan of the character. Did you enjoy the film that did come out before this one? And based on that, were you excited? Were you anticipating this movie? And of course, once you've seen the sequel, what did you think? Let's talk everything from your pros, your cons, your thoughts on Sonic, the addition to the cast, the human characters, Jim Carrey. What was your favorite moment? What were some things that didn't work for you all? And of course, let's talk about this for a brief second. There is a post-credit scene, and based on that post-credit scene, my question for you is, are you excited to see more? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. So going into this sequel, I'm a fan of the character, number one. Grew up with the character. Not a super deep fan, but I appreciate the character growing up as a kid. I had a really good time with the first one that came out a couple years ago. And based on, the trailer and all the stuff there, I'm like, you know what? I think I might really enjoy this sequel, maybe even more so than the first one. I'm going to say it right now. All the stuff that I enjoy about the first one, they double down in the sequel, which is something you want to see from 1 to 2, is growing the characters, growing the world, and this film does that. Starting off with one of the shining stars of the first one, Sonic himself. We obviously got the redesign, and having Ben Schwartz voice this character, I think it's like peanut butter and jelly. They go hand in hand. Childlike energy, this likable energy that Ben brings to the character, and the arc that Sonic gets from 1 into 2, there's a lot of growth in the character. There's more responsibility, there's more things to do, there's discovery within the character, and I really enjoy what we get with Sonic. And there are moments that I'm like, oh yeah, from a video game perspective, people are going to love what happens to Sonic in this film, which brings me to adding more to the story and adding to the cast. Tails and Sonic, their back and forth, their friendship was fantastic. I thought what Tails brought to the role, number one, just a little side tangent, I saw this at a press screening, and there's a bunch of press members that I've seen before, but it was also open to the public, and there were tons of family and kids that were just having a great time. They were laughing, just having a blast, and it just brought me back to being that young and just having something fun to look forward to and having a fun time with the film. And again, it didn't affect my score, but it made the enjoyment and made the experience that much better. And going back to me tying that to Tails, there is a plot that we have with the character. It was just so beautiful to see, and it was just a message and a theme of being yourself, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And as an adult, you can always look into that and just like appreciate that, but I love that the younger generation can see that type of message. So I thought Tails and Sonic were fantastic, but there's also another duo that was great in this film, and that is Knuckles and Dr. Eggman, starting off with Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba, who I'm not going to lie, it took a minute to get used to the voice, but Idris, he knocks it out of the park in this role. Seeing that character, Knuckles, who gets a legit arc and growth within his own right, seeing the warrior having a mission and growing and learning and having some things that he develops and reveals that he has throughout the film, I thought it was great. And I wasn't too, I'm like, does Knuckles need his own TV show? Based after seeing this film, I'm looking forward to checking that out on Paramount+. So I thought Knuckles was great, and I thought that the look and the design, and again, the arc was great. But the back and forth between Knuckles and obviously Sonic, but Knuckles and Dr. Egg being played by Jim Carrey, who was one of my favorite elements of the first one, you can just tell when an actor's having a great time in the role, and you can just see that with Jim Carrey in this movie. He's channeling like his older Jim Carrey, which you got that in the first one, like that 90s Ace Ventura, just having a fun time. The puns are out of this world in this movie, and his performance is out of this world. I had such a fun time with the character. There's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of nods to the character. I know a lot of people, their biggest criticism with Dr. Eggman, the first one, like obviously he didn't look like Dr. Robotnik, but there are moments in this film that they kind of give you, and I'll just kind of leave it at that, that makes it very video game accurate. So I enjoyed those dynamic duos, but also there is an increase in the budget, $20-30 million more, and you can see that in the visual effects, which I thought were clean. Also, from a story perspective, this is what I really enjoyed about the film: the lore, the mythos, the clans, the backstory. I feel like now seeing the sequel that I think that the studio might have been like, we can't throw that in because it might be too inside baseball, but come this sequel, they're like, let's have fun. Let's dive into the Emerald and, you know, more into the backstory of the characters and the different clans. So I really appreciate it, and I feel like the creators really did a good job of not only allowing people to enjoy what we got from 1 into the sequel, but also for people that played the video games, there are a lot of nods to the stuff in the video games, and I really appreciated what the directors and the writers did, which I think they did. The direction and the writing was just as good in this sequel than it was in the first one. So I definitely want to give kudos to the production. But there are some criticisms. And again, I appreciate a film that knows what it is. I mean, within the first 10 minutes, there's a fart joke. So, you know, it knows the kids are there to have a good laugh. But there are moments where kid-friendly films want to attend to the adults that are in the audience. And there's a plot that I think was completely unnecessary. It wasn't that it was like absolutely atrocious and just like ridiculous and just terrible on all accounts, but it just felt it didn't need to be there, which is, and I'm a big fan of Natasha Rothwell. I'm a big fan of Shemar Moore, who that man never ages, but there's this whole side subplot that gets our main humans like out of the house for obviously Sonic and Tails can grow and become friends, but they go to Hawaii, and that whole wedding unnecessary craziness that goes on there to me it took away from the fun and the momentum I was having with Sonic on his journey and his adventures. And honestly, that subplot added to be like 10 to 15 minutes that I thought ultimately could have been taken out of the film and really kind of go under that 2-hour mark that the film has in its runtime. It's not to the Transformers like, oh my gosh, here we go with this stupidness, but it's just like whenever we would go from everything with Sonic and Knuckles and we transition over to the humans, it kind of slowed the momentum down for my personal taste. And again, I enjoy the actors, and James Marsden, he's great. Him and his wife and their dynamic, they're doing things. They're not just like pointless human characters, like I said, like I think from the Transformers world, but it's just like that plot to me just didn't work with the wedding stuff. And when you see the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then there's also going to, you know, one of my favorite parts of the film, the relationship between Sonic and Tails. There's this bar scene that I can see on paper the sentiment of how they bonded, how they became friends, but I just wish it was maybe different. It's this whole dance-off thing that I think was just a little bit too ridiculous for my taste, but I just wish that they could have found a more creative way to really cement their friendship. So honestly, those are my only criticisms. So before I give you all my overall thoughts and my score, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, share the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. And of course, subscribe and come and join the community. Overall, Sonic 2 knows exactly what it is, knows who its target audience is. It has a fun time. There's growth in the characters. I really enjoyed the addition to Knuckles and Tails. Jim Carrey is just as good as he was in the first one, which brings me to overall, I think that I enjoyed this sequel more than the first one. It does have its criticisms. The humans aren't that bad, but they're manageable. I wish they could have found creative ways to add the humans into the story, but overall, I laughed. I enjoyed the visual effects. I'm really excited for that post-credit scene and more from this franchise. I'm going to give Sonic 2 a 3.8 out of 5. And I have to say, if you're a fan of the character from the video game standpoint, if you are a fan of the 2020 film, you're going to have a good time with this. Like I said, I personally enjoyed this one more than the sequel or the first one, and I enjoyed the first one. So that bodes well for me. Like I said, I'm giving it a 3.8 out of 5. So hey, that's my pros, that's my cons. I recommend you all give it a watch. And when you do, let me know your thoughts. What did you think about the characters, the plot? Were some things that didn't work for you all? And again, do you want to see more? And are you excited for the future of this franchise? Let's talk about it in the comments section. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate you all. Before you leave, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments. And like I said, subscribe and hit that notification and join the community. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel. Check out my other content. We'll catch you on the next video.